Have you heard the interview with Al Franken yet?
Yeah, this is a pretty amazing interview, actually. He was on with a station in Minnesota, and the journalist pushed him pretty hard on a lot of these things and would not let him off. Because, Franken kept trying to do the same thing he's been doing, which is these kind of like generalities answers, and so these sort of focus group answers. Let's start with Al Franken on disrespect.
If you had told me 2 weeks ago that a woman was going to come forward and say I disrespected her, I would have said no.
Well, I don't think any of them are using that word. I think that's your word. I think
or done anything like this.
Leanne Tweeden said he forcibly
I understand what she said, and I think they're not using the word disrespect. I think some people are looking at that word and saying, no. Lindsay Metz said you molested her on Facebook right afterwards. I think these women feel this goes way beyond disrespect. I understand that. I have a different recollection than Leanne.
This is the same thing every time. Here is Al, because it's amazing. This is the same. He has the same group of phrases he goes back to.
But if he was innocent, what? He's trying to not dismiss them by saying, I have a different recollection of that. That way he's not peeing all over them, because if he said, that's not true.
They're liars.
You're calling her a liar. So he's trying to be careful, which is the only thing you can do. But by doing that, you just sound, that's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, right?
Ridiculous.
So he's trying to, manage the wording
correct
as well as possible to not draw out new accusers. By the way, there's a fifth one today that said that he was groping her during a photo shoot on the USO tour in 2003. So
who does that? Who just gets their jollies out of that? I just don't.
Yeah, no, I don't
get it.
I don't understand. But Al Franken does, apparently. Al Franken on credibility.
Can you really continue to claim kind of a moral high ground on some of these issues, including the Trump-Russia investigation, when a lot of people feel you've been less than transparent about these particular allegations?
Well, I think I'm a good questioner, and I think that the questions that I'm asking don't go to my credibility. They go to the credibility of the witness. They go to the credibility.
But hasn't your credibility been undermined?
I would say yes, and I have a long way back. I have a long way back to win back the trust of the people of Minnesota.
Not that long. We didn't really trust you that much before, but it was interesting.
I'm really regretting doing this interview with WCCO right now.
Yeah.
I thought WCCO was in my camp. Right. I don't know why I'm sitting here with you.
They pushed pretty hard.
Yeah, she did a great job.
It's interesting because he kept bringing this back. She was bringing up, like, you were questioning Sessions. You were questioning Tom Price and saying, hey, how could you possibly expect anyone to believe that you didn't know you were buying stocks that had connections to the bills you were trying to pass? How could anyone believe that? And she said, how could anyone believe that you didn't know you grabbed a woman's butt? How could anyone know that you didn't know that you, like, that was her kind of line of questioning. I thought this was interesting, though, because you talk about, he kept bringing up this issue of intent. And here he is, as you kind of point out, he's in a tough spot. Right, he's fighting for his life here. He's
guilty
got nowhere
or
to
innocent.
go.
You got nowhere to go.
He's got nowhere to go, and so he is trying to do the progressive thing. Right, he's trying to give so much ground, so he looks so progressive and so in line with women, and he understands women so well that you can't possibly be mad at him for squeezing and pinching a couple butts. Right? How can you? Come on, the guy, he really likes the women. Look at the bills he passes. Right. And this is the same sort of thing that Louis C.K. did, and several others have done, adopting this new standard of intent. Listen to how he describes.
This is really dangerous.
Yeah, listen to how he describes how intent should be thought about in these situations.
I meet thousands, as you know, people in Minnesota, and I take thousands of pictures. And I'm a warm person, and I hug people. And in some of these encounters, in the pictures or meetings,
encounters, wrong word to use.
Some women, and any is too many,
have felt that I have crossed a line, and I am terribly sorry about it. They feel that in these interactions I've done something to disrespect them, and that's not my intention. But what I know is that the intention doesn't matter. What matters is we listen to women's experience.
Stop for a second. Your intention doesn't matter?
What I know is that my intention doesn't matter.
This is the standard that progressives have built for themselves. The intention doesn't matter.
It's, in many ways, all that matters. Now, if a woman has an experience that she doesn't like, and the intention is, you could argue from her perspective, look, I didn't like it, right? Like the George H.W. Bush, this was brought up, right? His intention was to try to loosen up this situation. He's in a wheelchair. And yes, absolutely.
If that were the intention.
Right, if that were the intention. But again, you could argue, yeah, she should still be offended. But it would be a big point on how we would judge Bush, right? It's a big point on how we would judge Franken, right? So the idea that intention doesn't matter, well, it matters all. It's the most important thing when judging someone in the middle of these situations. If you run over a person because you don't like them on the side of the road, that intention is important. If your intention is to drive down the road and swerve out of the way of a cat that ran into the road and you hit someone, it's a terrible, terrible mistake. It's a terrible thing you don't want to happen, but your intention tells the story there, right? The intention is always, if you shoot someone in the middle of the street, oh my gosh, you can't shoot someone in the middle of the street. Well, if your intention was to protect the woman who he was raping, well, you know what? All of a sudden, intention's a big part of that story.
Did you or did you not stick a knife into his chest, which resulted in his death? Well, yes, I'm a heart surgeon. Yes, I did stick a knife in his chest.